Welcome everyone. Today I am joined by the wonderful and mystical Nataraj, who is a devoted Shiva Yogi, and we'll explain more about that concept, and an outstanding teacher of yogic and tantric philosophy. And believe it or not, this man began meditating at the age of 13. Yeah. And immersed himself in the teachings of Tantra by the age of 16. Yes, so incredible. And now you have dedicated your life to practicing and sharing all of this knowledge and wisdom in the form of workshops and retreats and kirtans and teacher trainings, meditation and yoga teacher trainings.
Yeah.
There's one coming up with Christian Crow, which is going to be amazing, who was a guest on this podcast earlier. So we'll double tap that later. But for now, a huge welcome. So thank you for agreeing to come on.
Yes, lovely to be with you.
I would love for you to begin by describing your personal relationship to meditation. Like, what is meditation and what is meditation to you?
It's a big question.
It's a big question.
So I come from a kind of esoteric form of what we could colloquially call Hinduism, and it's a tantric tradition. And it's a Shakti Path tradition. Shakti Path is a Sanskrit word that means descent of grace. And there are certain moments in our life that open our heart, or they put us in touch with the energy of grace. They create a kind of paradigm shift inside of us. And so inside of the tradition I'm a part of, the idea is meditation. We gather the energy of the senses to a center deep within, and to become absorbed in that center is the result of grace, and it happens spontaneously. And so that is the sort of, it's a spontaneous experience, meditation actually is, where we're in touch with the supreme power of the heart. And there are certain things that make us more receptive to grace, and those are the methods that we can employ to create an open and tender and available heart, where we can come to intimately contact that power that's inside. And there are certain things, experiences, yogic practices, and people that we could come in contact with that accelerate that process of becoming absorbed in the heart. And my personal relationship to meditation, a lot of it has to do with what's called satsang. And satsang is it's probably one of the oldest spiritual practices that's continuously being done. And it comes from the wisdom traditions of India, and it means sort of being in reality together, or keeping the good company of the truth. And when you keep the company of people whose hearts are on fire for the divine, they love life, and they know what it is to be available-hearted, even to be in the company of someone who has a little more experience of that than you do, that state is very contagious, and it makes it very easy to immerse yourself in that. And so there's a sort of literal satsang where we can come together in community to chant, to do practice, to meditate, to sit with the teacher. And then when we're not able to literally engage in satsang, there are things that we can do to keep the spirit of satsang alive. And those are things like mantra and our individual meditation practice, the recitation of the scriptures, contemplating Mahavakyas, the great statements of the scriptures. And so my meditation practice is oriented at one, invoking that experience of becoming absorbed in the center and keeping myself in satsang, keeping myself in intimacy with reality, with God, with Guru, with grace, with life. And the most powerful means that I know, and that was what I've been doing the longest, is the recitation of the divine name, mantra. So mantra is really at the core of what I do. In my life, I try and keep my mind's natural resting place to be the mantra. In my tradition, it's Om Namah Shivaya, a mantra that honors Shiva, divine consciousness, who is our very own self. And in my meditation, I spend a conscious amount of time every day leaving the ordinary behind to just savor the practice of repeating the mantra. And it works. It works. So.
That is such a beautiful answer. I'm so inspired by pretty much everything you just shared. There's so much depth and so many directions we could go with that answer.
Yeah.
But I guess to make sure we can bring everyone along who's listening where some of these concepts might seem new, like Tantra 101, how is it that Tantra reveals the self? And I guess, what is the self? You spoke to it as being the heart, but I'd love you to elaborate.
Tantra offers us a higher and finer narrative than ordinary existence offers us. And Tantra always begins, yoga philosophy in general begins with big ideas. And so the first big idea that we encounter in the tradition, or what we'd call like a sampradaya that I'm inside of, is it's the study and examination and glorification of consciousness. So it talks about, okay, what is divine consciousness? What is it that makes consciousness God? And how does that chitti, that consciousness, contract? How does the one contract to become the many? And it does it through a process of limitation. In the same way that art is created by limitation. Like we can't make a painting that's about everything
at once.
It has to be edited to be about a specific subject or certain colors or certain shapes or certain shadows. And so that divine consciousness going through a process of limitation eventually becomes us as we are now. And we've forgotten that we are the one having become the many. And so we can use the analogy or metaphor of like a tree. A tree has leaves and bark and fruit and blossoms and flowers and roots. Though they all differ in name and form and function, they are expressions of the one life of the tree. So too, though we might be called Ash and Nataraj and Joe and this one, we differ in our name and form and function, but we're all aspects of that one life, that one divine consciousness. And so Tantra says there is chitti, divine consciousness, which contracts, called mala. At some point we have that experience of awakening to a greater possibility where we think, oh, I'm more than I believe myself to be. I'm more than just a body. I'm more than just opinions. I'm more than just a gender. I'm more than just whatever, And then we start to do practice to hold that realization that the awakening gave us, or to sort of expand it. That's called upaya, method. We do practice, we do sadhana or upasana. And then finally, we become established in the divine remembrance of our nature as consciousness, which we call moksha, liberation. So this tantric narrative of chitti, mala, upaya, moksha, and all of the practices are in service of holding that realization of all that we are and all that this is as being divine.
It's such a beautiful pathway, and Tantra has so many maps. It's full of maps.
And lists.
Lists, which is amazing because essentially they're all created to help our human mind grasp the nature of reality and the nature of the self and the nature of consciousness. And I think something that was really helpful for me was the map of the 36 tattvas, which you've kind of spoken to a little bit, this descent of consciousness into a body-mind, into human form, right? And the thing that helped me was, I guess it's in relation to what you described as the malas, these limitations and constrictions. And I guess it helps to understand why we as humans feel and function the way that we do. We go through limited agency, limited knowledge, limited contentedness, limited or perception of limited space and time. And then it makes us sort of feel like we question why we feel separate to each other and why we don't feel whole, or we feel like we don't belong even though we innately belong and we are whole. But I'd love for you to explain, if you can, double tap the process of limitation and how it sort of impacts the way we experience the world
Yeah, totally.
in individual body.
When you encounter a map like the tattvas, it can seem like a hierarchical list.
Yeah.
Like consciousness good, stone bad. It is part of this gradient of experience that we can have. And actually, the tattva map that places Para Shiva or Supreme Consciousness at the top and like earth or a stone, the most material thing at the bottom, it's not actually a list that goes top down. It's a it's about describing a relationship between inner world and outer world.
Yeah, because it also maps the journey back up.
That's right. And so
Or not up.
outside is a world of matter. Inside is a space of unimaginable possibility, consciousness.
I love that.
When we relate to each other as matter, as a body, or even as the mind, we're separate and we're different and we're miles apart.
Yeah.
When we learn to relate to each other as consciousness, as energy, as divinity, it's so clear that we belong to each other, that we're not separate, that we're made of the same stuff, and we actually share much more in common with one another than we are different. And, so long as we're only relating to each other as the finite, there's conflict, there's friction, there's tension, there's karma, there's entropy, there's death. When we relate to each other as a divine cycle, as process, as energy, as Shakti, as power, energy, then whatever we love, we carry with us always. It's eternal, and it's intimate, and we're the same.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe it's a nice time to explain what you mean by Shiva Yogi as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there is a form or rupa of Shiva that I'm sure many people are familiar with, like the kind of Adi Yogi, the meditating man at the top of Mount Kailash, or as Nataraja, the dancing Lord Shiva who dances the world in and out of creation.
Different names for Shiva.
Yes. Trika Shaivism or Kashmir Shaivism, which is what I practice, it's not about Shiva in form. Yeah. It's like that those are sort of maps or mirrors or icons of our essence nature. Yeah. It's a symbol. It's a living symbol for who or what we are, which is actually consciousness. And so to be a Shiva yogi is to be a connoisseur of consciousness, to be in hot pursuit of that felt experience of, we could say, God or the self or the heart. And the most direct way that we can come to know consciousness, because it's very subtle, loving awareness, it's very peaceful, it's very quiescent, it's very still. One of the ways that we can come to know Shiva is through Shakti, which is Shiva's beloved. And this is the aliveness.
Yes.
If Shiva is awareness, Shakti is aliveness. If Shiva is being, Shakti is becoming. Nice. If Shiva is peace, Shakti is love. So it's the dynamic aspect. Once consciousness begins to move, we call Shiva Shakti. And so the philosophy studies consciousness. The practice courts Shakti. How do we come to know ourselves as the energy of life itself?
Yeah.
And so the practices of Tantra, they put you in touch with a powerful energy that brings you to the experience of being. Shakti delivers us to Shiva.
And it's more tangible, so it allows people to access the experience.
That's right,
Yeah, and it's also speaking to the non-dual aspect, not two.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Shiva and Shakti are described as being inseparable, like fire and its heat. Or water and its wetness, the sun and its rays, milk and its whiteness. You know, these are some of the classical examples. And so what we're trying to do is get on board with the way things actually are. So Shiva and Shakti are always together, but we feel separate.
Yes.
We feel limited. We feel broken. So how do we bridge the breach of separateness? Well, we bring our awareness, Shiva, to aliveness, Shakti. The result, if you mix awareness and aliveness, is what the tradition calls ananda, bliss. So when we bring awareness to aliveness, it's like reuniting lover and beloved.
Yeah.
And the result is a feeling of bliss, a feeling of clarity, a feeling of union or continuity.
Yes.
And it expands us.
Because I think when people hear bliss, they're thinking euphoric bliss, but it's different in a sense in that it's not necessarily like chasing high states.
Yeah, totally.
But it's like this contentedness with how you feel, what you have, who you are, regardless of your state.
It's like a quiet joy, or it's like a very, it's like a, my guru describes it as the clear space of good feeling. That there, you found it, there's this kind of sweet spot. It's like you're in the Tao, but there's clarity of thought and a kind of positive, uplifted feeling state. And it's not that there's not room for your sadness, for your grief, for your anxiety, but it's that you can walk through hell even with an open heart. And so you still have access to the heart, to the self, to the divine, even as you go through difficult things. Because, let's be real, things will not be going according to plan. Part of the cost of entry of being in this body is there's death, there's loss, there's old age, there's disease. But you can navigate all of those things without unnecessary, prolonged suffering.
Yes.
And so the Ananda, having access to the Ananda, lets you live through whatever it is that you have to live through, while still holding that divine remembrance of who you are, what you're made of, what this life is all about.
I'd love to ask you then, with everything you've shared, how has this understanding informed your understanding of yourself as Nataraj, the human sitting before me, and then as the self, as the heart?
Yeah, I think my sadhana, the main issue inside of my sadhana that I have to learn to digest and sort of grok is grief. We all have something, like a kind of, there's a chief tendency inside of us that continually puts us back in the mood of forgetfulness. And for me, it's grief. Like I get sad, I've lost a lot of things, parents, loved ones, etc. And to be deep in grief, there was a time where that really obstructed my access to wisdom, to clarity, to love. At some point, I had this very powerful experience in meditation, chanting the mantra, where I felt like everything I had ever lost was inside, was in the heart, and I had the experience that in the mantra we're always together, that I could reclaim contact with all the things I had ever loved and lost just by saying Om Namah Shivaya. And that wasn't a head trip, it was a felt experience. And I learned that my grief was a form of my love. And my grief, it had powerful wisdom it wanted to tell me. When the grief had come up, it meant I had lost touch with the heart. And if everything I have ever loved is there inside of me, I could speak to whoever or whatever I had lost in the interior space of the heart. And so, that means, I lost my mom in my early 20s, and that was very difficult. But, when the grief comes up about being a part of the Dead Mom Club, that's powerful feedback that, you need to speak to your mother in the inner space of consciousness. Though she may not be in a body, that I can't hug her or call her on the phone or be annoyed by her any longer, But I can speak to her in that inner space where she lives forever, And so understanding that inner world as a space of consciousness, as a space of unity, it's that, and actively dragging my grief into my sadhana, into my practice, has broadened the spectrum of what I have access to in those tough moments, in adversity, in loss, in confusion. And so, really feeling that the grief is a part of the love experience, a part of the love play. And the grief wants to teach me something. The grief wants to show me something. The grief actually wants me to come back to the heart.
Yeah. And this is like life is the playground of opposites.
Totally. And our job as Tantric yogis is to integrate complexity. Yes. And that the divine plays in paradox. Yes. She lives inside of every paradox. You know, that's why we have like the tantric depictions of deities, when they are depicted, are very wrathful usually. They're very scary looking because they're meant to shock us out of our ordinary ideas about what sacred is, about what the divine is, and about who we are. That we contain everything, and that includes the good and the bad. Which is great because it leaves room for our humanity. It leaves room for our messiness. It leaves room for
thank goodness.
Our grief, our frustration, you know, our anxiety. That's all part of this divine play. Yeah,
and that's what's beautiful about Tantra. It's not life negating, it's life affirming. And that makes it so powerful because there's no part of our experience in practice that has to be pushed away.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, interestingly enough, in the divine drama and in the Natya Shastras of India, where they talk about divine drama and dance, there's no word for yes. The affirmative is always indicated by
it's
om.
implied? Oh,
it's
okay.
Om is always the yes. There are lots of words for no, you know? But the om always affirms. And so there's this so Tantra has its spirit, this yes.
So beautiful.
Which is the pranava. It's the sound of life itself.
Yeah.
The way life moves and makes sound. You know, the noisiness of life is actually it's the yes.
How has Tantra then, and like the life-affirming nature of the practice, helped you to bring a certain kind of relationship with your body and your senses and your mind and even your thoughts? Because in so many traditions, people hear meditation, they're like, okay, no time for no thoughts, empty mind, control the mind. But Tantra is very much the body is the vehicle, senses are the gateways, mind is the instrument.
Totally.
Thoughts are the agent of liberation.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, basically, sadhana, spiritual practice, is only possible because we have this body.
Yes.
Because we have this mind, because we have this energy, because we have this breath. So let's not waste it. Let's use it.
Yeah.
And that means that we can use our sensory experience as a doorway to the infinite. And that includes our terror, our arousal, the food we eat, the music we listen to, the art we engage with, the things we find shocking and disgusting, you know. And so when we pour our awareness, which is a form of our love, inside of anything, it becomes a means. It becomes an upaya, it becomes a dharana, a tantric centering technique.
Yeah, a method.
That's right. So, use what life gives you.
Yeah, everything can be a tool to wake up to.
Yeah, and you know, part of the exquisiteness of Tantra is that it offers us various narratives to meet where we're at. So the highest narrative is everything is Shiva. Everything is divine consciousness. Everything is the self. Everything is you. If you can't hold that, you know, the Kalarnava Tantra, it says, na shivam vidyate kvachit. Nothing exists that's not Shiva. If you can't hold that, fine. Hold the idea that all of this is sadhana. All this is practice.
Yes.
You see? So the higher octave experience is all this is God. But if you don't have that, okay, use life as practice and cultivate mumukshutva, your longing for liberation, your deep desire to grow no matter what. And if you pour your awareness into the present moment and you deeply wish to grow no matter what, you'll grow. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you win or lose, if there's pleasure or pain, you'll be able to digest those experiences of your life and receive them as nourishment for growth. If you can't do that, you know, the final thing is remember impermanence. Someday this body will be a dead body.
Yes.
You know? And so those three rungs of a narrative can be very useful depending on the situation you're in. So different useful. Tools for different jobs.
To meet you where you're at.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it can sound confusing when it's like everything is Shiva, but it comes from the goddess tradition. So how do you explain it being a goddess tradition and what that means?
Yeah. Reality with a personality is a deity. And a deity is a way that we can understand who we are or what life is about or made of. The depiction of a deity offers us a whole system of practice. It says something about the nature of the practice to do the sadhana of a particular deity. And it's a map, it's a mirror, it's an archetype, it's an energy, and also the supreme reality itself. So the goddess in form is a way that we can come back to the oneness experience through our nature as relational human beings. So it's devotional non-duality. Yeah. If you're in a state of oneness, you just have to abide in the love and just be there. If you lose it and you're caught in separateness, you use your love, your awareness, and your energy to get back to the oneness state. And so we can do that through deity practice.
Yes.
So there's the deity in form, like people have seen goddess Kali or Durga or Lakshmi or Saraswati, whatever, And then there's also the deity or the goddess without form who exists in the nirguna state. And that can be the goddess as a principle in the universe, as an energy. She is the mantra. As as our own prana shakti, as our own breath power. And so based on your temperament, and your constitution, there are lots of ways in. And different, and the longer you practice, the more your practice has to adapt to where you are and how you are and what you like and what you don't like. And your practice will create a well-rounded person out of you. And it has all these various modalities and methods and ways of understanding or looking at something based on what you need in the moment.
Yeah, it's less prescriptive as a generalization. It's very catered for the individual.
Yes, that sadhana should be made to measure.
Yeah.
And so if you happen to be very devotionally oriented or you need to cultivate more love, we can work with a deity, like the goddess in form, and build a living relationship with our life through the image, through the murti, through the ritual worship, through the contemplation and embodying of that very goddess. And so at first it's a loving relationship of two, and then eventually consummated as a unitive experience.
Yeah, and you said, when you lose the connection too, and it's almost like the tradition says you never lose it, because it's what you lose is the recognition of the connection, because it's always there.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think it's just so beautiful though, because I feel like many traditions kind of feel as though you can go into the state and fall out and it's gone, but it's the recognition, your own recognition, that has been temporarily lost.
And the tradition holds a very compassionate view of this by describing it as lila, as play, or it's like part of a dance or a game or a divine drama, that the actors are playing out these scenes, but it's just a show, so it may seem like we're separate, it may seem like we're lost, it may seem like we're apart, but we're actually not. And so to forget is suffering, and to remember is liberation. And so there's never anything that's really lost. We're either having a more or less expanded experience. And so it sort of exists on this continuum. Which I think brings in a lot of room for self-compassion, for humor, for grace.
For humanness.
For compassion. So it's great.
And sometimes we talk about it as waking up. How do you describe being asleep? How does the tradition see?
Yeah, it describes it as enchantment, we're under the spell of something, or the glamour. and that very forgetting is the goddess. It's the goddess as Mahamaya, like the divine enchantress. It's the god, like, normally in other forms of yoga and Vedanta, Maya is that which veils, conceals, or it's like the world is illusory.
Yes, like an illusion.
Yeah, and so because the world is an illusion, we need to lift out of the illusion into this transcendental view of reality. If we learn to worship and love our life, we can see through to the heart of things. And we can also appreciate on the way the divine artistry of the goddess and the glamour, the magic show of it all. And it's play. And so the ability to sort of work with our forgetfulness, first we have to recognize, okay, I know what it's like to be separate.
Yeah.
And if I have enough awareness, I can watch when I'm caught in separateness. Because I'm using this body, mind, and energy for practice, and I'm using every experience, life is always giving me feedback.
Yes.
My body, mind, energy, and circumstance are always going to show me, if I pay attention, where I'm tight, where I'm uptight, where I'm resisting, where I'm in flow, where I'm in harmony, where there's pleasure, where there's pain. And then, because I'm living this life of awareness, I can organize myself from the feedback I'm getting from my life and move back into flow. Because, if there is, we could say the Maya is tension and the self is flow, you see? And the only difference is, where am I resisting?
Yes.
So once you can recognize where you're resisting, then you can use your practices, you can use your elevating thoughts, you can use your actions to put yourself back in flow.
Yeah.
And you can surf. Sally Kempton, Swami Durgananda, a great teacher in my tradition, she used to call it like you surf reality.
I love that term.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love the way you describe things. You're really like, it lands when you share. So thank you. I've asked this question to every podcast guest, and I'd love to ask you. It's a big question.
Okay, great.
But I want to keep it broad for a reason.
Yeah.
What is the mind in your perspective? Yeah. How do you describe?
When supreme consciousness becomes contracted, it is the mind. So supreme consciousness in a contracted state is the mind. And the mind well used can take us beyond the mind. There's like a hidden key inside the mind.
You can utilize the power of itself, like utilize the power of the mind to...
Yeah, and so this is one of the great tantric axioms. It's that by which you fall is that by which you rise. So it may seem like, oh, we're these degraded, separate things because of the mind. I should hate my mind. No, it's like your mind is actually the great goddess Chitti, the goddess consciousness, the Kundalini Shakti, the great energy that's made everything has become you and lives within you as you. You've just forgotten. And if you use the energy that's latent inside of the mind, it can lift you up out of the identification with the mind and the limited egoic self, and you can receive your own sovereignty.
Yeah.
See? So consciousness contracted is the mind. When consciousness expands, we are Shiva.
Yes. And such a beautiful answer. How then do you help people to have relationship with their thoughts in meditation and in general?
Yeah. Thoughts carry a kind of potency or an energy, a quality inside of them. And there are certain thoughts that bring us down and certain thoughts that expand us, that lift us up. Some thoughts are very heavy. Some thoughts are very light, you see. Starting to become a curator of your inner world, what you allow in your inner space, and how to use your own mind or be in a sort of collaborative relationship with your mind is one of the big objectives of sadhana. Initially, you learn things like mantra japa, just repeating the mantra. Like, don't complain, pray, or, if the mind is troubling you, just say the mantra, let it be a circuit breaker.
Yeah.
Just stay close to that, because the mantra itself, the Tantra say mantra maheshwara, the mantra is the very form of the Lord. It is God. It's God in a sonic form. So if that supreme consciousness contracted is the mind and we're stuck in limitation, just identified with the thoughts, we open up to a broader perspective by feeding ourselves nourishing thoughts like the mantra.
Yeah.
Later on, as you do that more and more with your meditation, with your mantra, you start to get more contact with who you really are, which is beyond the mind. And then you'll start to carry that awareness with you in your daily life.
Yeah.
You see? And so then it becomes noticing what behaviors, what actions, what words, what company throws me into limitation, and then what puts me sort of in satsang or in expansion.
Yeah.
And you start to just stay really close to the things that open you up. Initially, that means living a more disciplined life as you build your own kind of gravitational pull. Because normally we're just pulled here and there by the voice of culture, the expectations of our parents, the pressure of living in the late stage capitalist life, all those things, they put certain demands on us.
Yeah.
And so we have to sort of examine our values, examine our relationships, our lifestyle, so that we can build this inner strength and resilience to feel, okay, what's true and good for me? What's in service of staying in touch with the love that I love with, or the remembrance that I am Shiva, or I am totality, I am life itself. And so you live in that sort of disciplined way, and you build a strength, and then the selective nature of what keeps you in that state can start to relax, and you can just be with things as they are. The great Saint Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he described it like, when you first start sadhana, you're like a little tree sapling, and like wild animals could trample that. And so what we do is we put a little fence around the sapling, so it gives it time to grow. Later on in its life, when it's like a mighty oak tree, the same things that would trample it previously now take refuge underneath the shade of that great tree.
Doesn't need any barrier.
That's right. So too our sadhana. At first, when we're in early stages of our awakening, of opening our heart, of coming to know ourselves, there's almost a kind of a tenderness. Or as your awareness expands and you start to see the role that you play in your own suffering, it almost seems like you're in more psychic pain. Like, at first there was just suffering, but now there's awareness plus suffering, and you're like, oh
my
shit,
God, this
like,
doesn't feel very good.
Like I'm keeping this going, and it's got to stop. And there's a very powerful moment when you just get so sick and tired of your own shit that you decide to make changes. And so you get that little fence around you, what I mean, to protect yourself and to keep company of other people on the path, to like only consume things that are nourishing, not just like food wise, but like
through the senses.
That's
everything.
Right. And then in time, as you build that resilience and contact with the self, then you can test that state by moving beyond the fence. The fence can come down, and then you can be with life however it is and whatever's going on. And then you're more established.
Totally. Oh, it reminded me of an analogy about the washing machine. You put clothes in and the water gets dirtier. Everything gets dirtier before it gets clean. Everything starts to get agitated first.
And so sadhana is invoking, like yoga practice actually invokes agitation. If it's real and transformative, there will be some tapasya, yogic burning will happen.
It's not all euphoric bliss. But it can lead there.
Eventually, it ends. It's got a happy ending.
It's got a happy ending. And like a final question, really. What is, you described the path of chitta, mala, upaya, moksha. Like what is freedom to you? What does that feel like, look like?
One of my teacher is Devi Saraswati. She says freedom is when your own mind doesn't bother you. And so it could be as simple as that.
Yeah.
It could be staying in touch with the heart.
Yeah.
It could be your ability to be present with whatever's here now. There are so many exalted states that sadhana will reveal to us. But, you know, the Shiva Sutras, they describe, you know, that transcendental state called the Turiya state.
Yes.
And the Shiva Sutras and other tantric texts like Pratyabhigya Hridayam, it describes like pouring the state of the self or the state of meditation like a unbroken stream of oil from one pitcher to the other. And so we're pouring the state of meditation into the waking, dreaming, and deep sleep states.
Yes.
The other three. And so when we can, so yes, there are wondrous states that meditation can offer us. There are huge paradigm shifts that can happen, felt, somatic, tangible experiences of the ecstasy that is God. But there is a form of this liberation that we know on a daily basis. Yeah. And it's the simple sweetness of being alive and being here together. Yeah. And just not feeling like a stranger in this world and being in touch with your heart. Yeah. And we glimpse that state all the time. It's not some far removed thing.
It's not a mystical state.
No, and it's the feeling of satiation after enjoying a great meal. Yeah. It's the bliss of being reunited with a loved one after some time apart. It's relishing a wonderful piece of music or watching a gorgeous sunset. Yeah. You know, we get little hits of it all the time, these fleeting samadhis. And what we're trying to do is just have more and more contact with that. Yeah. And it's a softening. It's a relaxing into. It's the most natural thing in the world, actually. Yeah. Yeah. It's who we really, moksha is actually who we really are. Yeah. Freedom.
Yeah. And I guess maybe I'll jump back one, but it's like with the upayas, I know we've mentioned a few methods, but are there any methods in particular that you feel would be helpful to speak to?
Yeah, you can. One of my favorite dharanas, you know, it works with bhava, deep feeling. Yeah. And it is our deep feeling that gives meaning to everything. Yeah. You know? And how we feel about something influences our identification, our relationship, our actions. Yeah. You know, the poet saints, you know, one poet saint just says, God is in your bhava, that God is in your feeling. And so you can consciously cultivate a feeling state in meditation to be a doorway into the liberated state. My favorite comes from Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, and it is about meditating on the bliss of being reunited with a loved one after some time apart. And so you can recall that memory in your meditation, and like, you know, picking up a loved one at the airport or whatever it is, you know, and using the brilliant part of the mind, not to torture yourself, but to uplift yourself, you know. Yeah. You hit play on the memory, and as you relive that memory and make it vivid in your inner space, you'll touch and taste that ananda rasa, that nectar of bliss inside your own being. You'll feel that it can be present here now, because all the love that you've ever known, you carry around with you in latent form, waiting to be realized. And so as that feeling starts to bubble up, you relish it. Yeah. Eventually you can let the particulars of the memory go, and you just hold the feeling. Yeah. More advanced, try and grow or express the feeling. What's it like to pour that love, that sweetness, that bliss of being reunited into the breath? Yeah. And as you do that, or to say the mantra with that feeling, that incredibly charged feeling of sweetness, of bliss, of being reunited. And as you do that, you know, the feeling grows, and you feel like, this is who I am, this is what life is about. Yeah. And it leads to a profound sense of relaxation, because the love expands you. Yeah. And so the bliss of being reunited. It's
Yeah.
my favorite.
That's so beautiful. I truly could listen to you talk all day about this stuff. It's incredible, your depth of knowledge and your articulation in the way you share.
I've had really good teachers. I've had really, really good teachers who have asked a lot of me, and you know what I mean. Who have also, you know, they don't, you know, they've never tolerated any shit. You know what I mean?
They call you forward and forward. And
Yeah, definitely. And they just, that's the wonderful thing about being in satsang or being in a lineage too, is that they're holding this expanded vision of who you are as the student, even when you can't hold that for yourself.
I love this. I've heard you share this on your podcast.
Yeah.
And it's the most beautiful thing, like the function of the guru or your teacher.
Yeah. And to have people who see the best in you and believe you to be God, even when you're not acting like it, is the most humbling and beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And so, and it inspires greatness inside of us. You know, the more you want somebody to change and be other than they are, you know, the less your partner or loved one or friend or whoever it is going to make you happy.
Yeah.
The more you accept them as they are, the more you love them, the more they'll become, the more they'll realize, the more they'll attain. And so that acceptance and that holding people in the highest vision of themselves in that way is, it's the trick of the guru in some way.
Yeah.
They're like, I see that you're not behaving in the way that,
But I still see.
but I still see it.
Your
in
brilliant
you.
light. Yeah.
And so in that way we get Mr. Miyagi'd by them, you know, and we just open. We open in their company because of that compassionate view.
And at some point they're ready to hold that view themselves.
Yeah, and then it's amazing. Like then it's almost like a duet of one, because you're equal. The guru and the disciple are actually equal, and you're able to play together.
Yes.
You know, and so that difference in power or the seat, it becomes a relationship of equals.
Yeah.
The Buddhists even they go to say that then it becomes a relationship that they describe as kalyana mitra, a beautiful friendship. And so that, I think that's what's most wonderful about this path.
Yeah. So nice. And if people want to keep listening to you, which I'm sure they do, I do, you have your own podcast now.
That's right, with Vishnudev Christian Crow.
Yes.
It's called Wisdom Tantra Freedom, WTF.
WTF.
And so we try and share a lot of sadhana stories about like what it's like to do practice.
Brilliant.
And work through your shit, you know?
Yeah.
And so that sometimes we interview other people, but lots of times it's just us sort of gas bagging.
They're my favorite ones.
Yeah. And so there's that.
And there's a 200-hour
That's
training.
right. We've got a 200-hour Hatha Yoga teacher training rooted in lineage, practice, and love. That's coming up starting February of next year. That's 2026. We'll also do a 100-hour residential in India at the end of next year. I've got other retreats coming up too, to India again, Nepal, Bali, with also some great teachers, Uma Neve, and you know, some pilgrimages with Yoga Life and some projects in the works with embodied philosophy. So, and then also I do a sort of year-long sadhana container. It's goddess practice focused, Daisy.
Beautiful.
And so that will have a second installment next year.
So many ways to work with you and connect with you.
Yeah.
I'll share your Instagram and your website so people can jump straight on.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot. Thank you so much, Nataraj. You are incredible.
Thank you. Nice to be with you.